Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. My name is Mal McCallion, and I'm here to guide you through all things property and AI technology that has happened this week, ending the 7th of December 2024. It has been another busy one in both property and the technology sectors. Property, some huge acquisitions, KFH being acquired by Lomond. We've had some search AI from Zoopla dropping, and also a very quick look at the RAN conference that happened yesterday, the 6th of December. In the tech space, we're going to have a chat about Bitcoin because that made some big waves this week. There's a brand new way of considering 3D world making just from photos, from images, which obviously has some potential ramifications for the property industry and the imagery of properties. And there's a lot of chat about Chinese models, Chinese large language models at the moment, basically, and how good they are and how they compare to the US and the other ones. So we'll run through all of that. We've got our tool of the week as ever, and the occasional slot for Weird AI of the week, which this week looks at Death Clock. First of all, though, let's talk some property stuff. Okay, so we're going to start with Zoopla and its new AI search. Now, regular listeners will know that I have a certain amount of, let's call it dubiousness about the current portals and their ability and willingness to embrace AI. And the reason for that is very simple. It is going to break their business model. If it is true and it is possible for somebody to search for their dream home just by either typing or, let's say this time next year, chatting into their phone and just asking AI to give them details of any properties that are on the market that have a wonderful garden with a sea view and 2 parking spaces near a train station, then that is probably what they're going to ask for. And AI can do that. And we've got a load of agents, as I'm sure I mentioned before, that are using our little AI assistants to do exactly that. It would be just as easy for the portals to do that. In fact, it'd be really helpful because that means that buyers, potential tenants, would be able to just ask for some things very specifically and it would come up. Now, the first reason that they can't do, or the portals will not do that, is because they essentially know that all of them, or the vast majority of their money, and certainly most of Rightmove's Optimizer Edge or Optimizer Plus, whatever it is this week, packages, it's all on the upsell, right? So it's all on the fact that you get a slightly bigger box at a slightly higher location on a slightly more immediate page of results that people get when they search using the filters that they've been searching for or searching with for the last 25 years. So that means that trying to change that search functionality, whereby it does just come up with 2 or 3 properties that are exactly what this particular particular buyer might want, will break it. So that there will be so many fewer leads going to agents as a result of this, but basically fewer pointless leads and fewer junk leads, because people will be finding what they want and then sending leads on the back of that. Now, I speak to agents all the time, and I know that one of the concerns that they have is if this AI comes in and it is able to do these real precision searches, so it only shows properties that are exactly within this catchment area for this school, with this particular distance to this particular train station, then it's going to inhibit their potential, their opportunity to do upsells themselves, or to get people to consider more of the properties that are available than buyers instantly think that they want. And everybody knows that the vast majority of buyers don't buy the property that they believe in their minds is the exact one for them. All right, they need to see a wider variety for sure. But that's really easy with AI. You actually train the AI to produce these ones, and then also say, oh, and by the way, these other ones are really good and really nice, and for people like you, and it will show them a wider selection. But, and again, this is the key thing from the portal's point of view, but people will not accept, in the world of AI, pages and pages of properties that they're not interested in. And having such a broad filter as they do, and they have done for 25 years, enables them to have this real, just almost forced fuzzy logic that just brings in way more properties than somebody really wants, and put the onus on the potential buyer to go through all of this information and do a lot of the junk searching for them. So it throws the hard work back onto the searcher, and it forces them to take more time on this particular job. AI will change that whether we like it or not, ChatGPT, others will come in and people will start to ask them questions and they will give answers and they will be relatively direct. And unless and until we accept that and perhaps create something that actually is able to guide buyers to exactly, yes, this is specifically what you want, but also here's some other things that are in the same periphery as what you say you want, and other people like you also like these properties, then we're just going to end up with people essentially stopping using the portals and going and using AI and chats and things like that. So I do think that they are really compromised. And what Zoopla's tried to do is to bring in something that is that kind of gives a bit of a nod to AI, is that enables them to say we are doing AI, but is really just a little bit more of the same, to be honest. So what they've created is the ability for an additional 6 filters to be used to, and I'm using very large air quotes here, personalize the search experience. By personalization, essentially, it's just adding in 6 more filters, right? It's like saying that it's a personalized search because you're looking in Croydon, and that's personalized. For Zoopla, these additional personalizations are if you're looking for a conservatory, a cottage, an ensuite, a kitchen island, a patio, or a period property, then you're in. Congratulations, you now have personalization. If you're not looking for any of those, then it's pretty much the other stuff. It's back to basics. It's what it does all the time. So essentially, it is. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's taking the piss, but it's a really quite basic way of limiting the impact of what you're able to search for, adding in some really additional filters. I mean, kitchen island, all right, fine, patio. And ensuite, it's like the difference between choosing a property and not choosing a property is unlikely, I would suggest, to be a patio. But anyway, so this is what we've been served up, and therefore this is what we have to use. There is obviously a hope that means that this is just the start of them doing some more words, but AI doesn't work like that. It doesn't need to work like that. It can just go and search all of the description of the property so that it's not just patio and period property and kitchen island that you can search for. You can search for mountain views. You can search for a particular school. You can search for, I don't know, you can search for pet friendly things in the local area. As long as it's in the property description, then it will surface these particular attributes. So again, you can file this alongside Rightmove's really quite poor efforts the last couple of weeks ago, when they were literally having kind of area guides was the big AI wheeze for them, where they said, look, this brand new really exciting thing that we're doing, which is essentially serving up descriptions of an area at the bottom of some property descriptions for properties that happen to be in a particular location. So look, again, it just for me emphasizes that 2 years, it's been 2 years since ChatGPT burst onto the scene. There is so much that's forward thinking and ambitious and thoughtful and customer centric businesses are bringing out based on these things, this technology, that it just, for me, betrays that these portals are not, and it's understandable. It is very explicable that they are not wanting to adopt this technology in any great way, because it really does, you know, destroy most of the value of their businesses, particularly if you're earning, I'm not sure what Zoopla earning from a margin percentage, but obviously Rightmove's up at 70% plus, and yeah, that they're not going to break that ATM, and AI will. So yeah, look, it's that kind of watch this space. I don't think that these guys are going to be the ones that are going to win out when the AI revolution really picks up. So the AI evolution. I do think the word revolution is massively overused, so I do apologize for using it on this. It is going to be an evolution. It's going to be a gradual change. It's going to be faster than things that have happened in the past, like digital and mobile and so on. But it will allow, you know, really ambitious and thoughtful and caring businesses to provide services that up to this point have not been possible. And those that embrace it are going to be really well set for the future. So, yeah, not going to include Zoopla at this point if this is the limits of their ambition as AI forwards. But it's interesting that at least they feel they have to be seen to be doing something. And perhaps one might call that progress, although it is minuscule. Okay, so that's Zoopla's new AI search words. And again, massive air quotes around the AI there. What we're going to talk next is the RAN conference yesterday. So the Relocation Agent Network conference happened yesterday at the Park Plaza Hotel in London. Really great event. It's been going 30 years now. Congratulations to everybody who's been part of it, particularly those that's involved in setting it up. Richard Tucker, the originator, when it used to be called the Home Sale Network, was there yesterday as well, which was great to see him. So I was lucky enough to be invited. We had some space there. I was also fortunate to do a presentation from the stage about AI, what's the kind of history and where it's going to go. And it was really, really good, not just to catch up with so many great estate agents and great people from the supplier side, but also to hear so many great presentations and just to hear how other people are perceiving the market and how it's going to go going forwards. I thought particularly Roger Martin Fagg, who's a behavioral economist, and many of you listeners will potentially have seen him presenting to us on numerous occasions. His economic forecast for the next year was really quite exciting. And actually, he used the word boom, which I haven't heard anybody use about our economic prospects since the Labour government got in, to be fair, which was in July. So I think that it's, yeah, and he backed it up, and he's been more right than wrong on almost everything. So yeah, he started off by marking his homework for last year and the predictions he made, and he was closer than he was far away. So yeah, so if he's right, then 2025 is looking like really quite a good year for everybody and in the economy. The slight note of caution was if Donald Trump really puts his foot to the floor on a lot of his around getting rid of so many migrants. I think he said 11 million or something like that, which would really impact their economy and would have other impacts on ours. But broadly speaking, there's a lot of tailwinds. And obviously, if you read the press, and there was a question from the audience, how come everybody's so miserable if this is coming down the track? And he said, basically, it's not until everybody starts to see house prices continuing to go up and the Daily Mail suddenly has its front pages, despite everything, despite Labour, properties are going up, then everyone starts to feel good and people will start to see more money in their pockets and wages are going up and there's a population squeeze. Everybody's going to be paid more to do the job. So yeah, it was really good session, really great event. And yeah, the fact that also there was some potential good news coming down the track was really exciting as well, actually. And you could tell that there was a bit of a buzz going on afterwards too. So yeah, so kudos to Simon Whale, to Heather Foster and Adam Wilkinson, the RAN team there. It was just a really good event and great to see the RAN as well, the RAN conference particularly, getting back to something like its best in terms of attendees and people's commitment to it. So brilliant day and well done, everybody. All right, our third story on property this week is about this huge M&A deal from Lomond, where they have acquired KFH, so Kinley Folkard Hayward, in London, with 60 odd offices, which is an amazing, ambitious deal. And Lomond itself has received another 450 million. It was sold for 450 million to more investors who've put some more money into it. So it's just a real statement of intent that these guys are going to continue to hoover up some really quite powerful brands and become, if you had to liken it to some historical moves, you'd look at Countrywide, and when it was hoovering up brand after brand before it then took a slightly left turn into the retail space in the Ellison Platt years, the mid 2010s. But yeah, no, it's really exciting. And obviously for those that are running businesses and are potentially thinking about making an exit, then obviously these guys are in the mix for their acquisitions. And they just seem to be continuing to invest in the sector. Yeah, well done them. Excited to see how it all goes and what their next moves are. I'm sure that there are a lot of conversations going on with the likes of Atomic Consultancy, Lucy Noonan and Co., who seems to be at the forefront of many of these deals. Adam J. Walker as well. I know he does a lot and has been doing for many years. So yeah, look, it's obviously an exciting space to be in. Yeah, really interested to see who else they've got lined up, because I'm sure that there are a number that are just about to drop as well. Okay, so that's our property news for this week. Let's take a very quick dive into all things AI and tech. One of the big news stories in tech this week has been Bitcoin's breakthrough the $100,000 barrier. Now, if you are lucky enough to have invested, and I'm using air quotes again, I'm afraid, in Bitcoin many years ago, then you are absolutely entitled to feel ridiculously smug about how it has all gone. There has been a lot of people who anticipated the death of cryptocurrency many times, and now it seems like it is entering something of a glorious era as Trump and his backers, which included a bunch of crypto technology companies, are going to, it seems, bring legislation into play that kind of formalizes a lot of what has been somewhat underground at this point. Yes, it is like with many things, it's quite speculative, right? It is quite a risky enterprise. Those that have taken the risk and have won, again, congrats. But yeah, it always just feels a little bit like, and not necessarily Bitcoin, which is one of the kind of more perhaps stable ones. But there's a lot of meme coins that sit around that kind of can be invented, and then once everybody's bought them, then the founders of the particular venture disappear with a bunch of cash. So yeah, look, again, it's out there. I think it's an interesting technology, and I think that's what I find really fascinating about it. Cash is clunky, even now that we've got used to paying for things on our phones. There's still the fact that currencies are different currencies. How do you translate these things and make them relatively seamless? And the fluctuations of currencies across different markets in the world is just annoying, and knowing what something costs in one country versus another country can be helpful. Anything that allows that smoother transaction and translation of value across different economies, I think has got to be helpful. So I've always thought that it's a great idea. The execution of it obviously has involved a lot of mining that is essentially only very few people with a lot of power can do, and it has also tended to be, and again, this is not the biggest use case, it has tended to attract those that are not looking to use it for entirely legal purposes sometimes. And that can be a problem too. But that being said, it's obviously going to become, I think, an increasing part of our financial futures. It's something to be very aware of. I don't think I'm necessarily going to dive in at this point with this kind of level of value attached to it, and perhaps not ever. But at the same time, I think that it's something that is becoming much more mainstream and much more legitimate. And yeah, I think that it's still got some way to go north. So if that's your thing, then yeah, look, congratulations to the fact that you've probably made an absolute killing so far. And yeah, look, good luck in making even more, because I'm sure there's more to come. Okay, our next story in technology is all about world building with AI. Now, there is a relatively new venture called World Labs, co-founded by legendary AI researcher Fei Li. Now, she's raised hundreds of millions of dollars this year for this new venture, and her kind of focus has been on helping AIs to build visions of worlds. And why is that important? So if you can get an AI to have a notion of what, not just what it's looking at, so for an image, for example, or even what it's talking about in text, but actually what that means from the shape of the world, from a physics point of view, then that allows that AI to be far more helpful, the more accurate you can make it, in terms of what it can then do with that one piece of information. So for example, what they particularly looking at is a product called Wonder World, where you can show it an image, and it will then start to imagine actually what the 3D scene is around that, and then you can do a fly through with it. So we spend a lot of time here at Model Prop using visual imagery and using AI to enhance it. So our virtual stager, for example, you can send us images of properties, we can remove the furniture and then put new furniture in a variety of different styles. We can also then use those images and animate them and create little videos that are really proper fly-throughs that have fires that are burning away just from static images, but this animates that. We can have little dogs that are running around the garden if they're out there. And all of this is done, with AI, and is really cost effective. That initial piece is already in play, but what World Labs is doing, what this Wonder World tool is doing, is actually then allowing this to become 3D. So actually getting AI to think really hard about, if I can see that is a table on that carpet, as I move around, then I'm going to be able to see the legs of the table, the reverse of the table. Perhaps there will be something underneath the table that I can see, and I can then see the back of that, and so on and so forth. And then it builds up from enough examples, it can build up a kind of pattern recognition that thinks, right, actually, then it is most likely to be, in a room, and that room then connects. If I go through this door, then that room is likely to connect to a hallway, which is likely to have other rooms coming off it, one of which may be a dining room, and then the dining room might look like this based on the fact that the living room looks like that. So that's where this is going, and that's why there's a lot of interest in this particular kind of area, and it's it started to become known as large world models. So LW is going to be a lot of acronyms coming in. So be prepared. So large world models essentially are going to be able to do this. Exciting for those of us who are looking at things like properties and imagining, actually, could you do or create some kind of really based on floor plans and based on the images of those properties right now, could you actually create a kind of different version of the property and fly through it that actually has different furniture in it, perhaps furniture from particular retailers that people can then click and buy? All this sort of stuff is starting to become particularly real as all of this technology is developed. So I think this is a really important for this particular lab to be building this particular tech. And I think it's going to become something we see more and more, maybe not necessarily next year, 2025, but certainly I think sort of 2026, 27, we're going to be a lot more kind of immersed in these 3D worlds that are generated by AI and are really quite realistic and actually useful and are going to be helpful, for example, in marketing properties and things like that. Yeah, watch this space. Large world models, LWMs, are going to be your new fave. TLA, three-letter acronym, and we will keep you up to date on all the developments therein, of course. Our final story on tech is about China and the Chinese models. Now, you may know that there's been a lot of work by the Biden administration over in the States stopping Chinese companies from getting access to cutting edge chips, semiconductors, because these are the more of them that they're able to use, the faster their tech can go and the quicker they're going to be able to catch up with them with what has been a lead that US companies like OpenAI and others have had in the AI space. And the reason why the US is so worried about China being able to catch up is they're worried about essentially military technology. If China is able to build a military AI capacity that is faster and better than theirs, and there is obviously a population discrepancy between the two countries, as well as a sort of more of an authoritarian bent over in China as well, which means that they can deploy their resources, their human resources, and direct them at one particular challenge much more easily than people over in the States can. There's been this worry that China's going to overtake America. They've managed to stymie a lot of this by essentially blocking access to some of the leading edge technology, the hardware to build all of these tools on. However, it has seemed, and this speaks to human ingenuity from the dawn of time, the more you try and constrain people from doing one thing with these particular tools, they will then go and use other tools, or they will use the same tools better. And that seems to be what's happening. Chinese large language models, the AI, the generative AI stuff, seems to be actually not just catching up, but potentially edging ahead in certain benchmarks. So certain recognized tests that you put these AI through in order to see what's best and what is performing over and above others. So there's one particular called Qwen, Qwen. It's a model from Alibaba, which historically has been known as the Amazon of China. But they've now built out this model that is smashing things all across the piece, and is doing it on technology that is old technology, so technology from 2 years old in terms of the size and the speed of these chips. And that is obviously worrying the Americans quite significantly. Nobody's trying not to talk about it too much, but it is something that is clearly a potential problem. If China is able to leverage the older technology from 2 years ago better than the Americans have ever done, America focusing entirely on building faster chips, which is what they have been doing, and then building on top of these faster chips and assuming that the older chips will always be, yeah, what they've done with the older chips is as much as you can do, is turning out, it seems, to be a false assumption. When these newer chips, the ones from 2024, then get into the hands of the Chinese, as they will perhaps in a couple of years' time, then obviously they're going to be able to build even better stuff on top of that as well. So there's a lot of concern around. I think it's one thing that it's any militaristic technology that comes into play that is potentially going to be directed at us, for example, over in the West, it's got to be a worry. And I think that with the Trump administration coming in, he's always been a bit more kind of saber rattly when it comes to China. Obviously, I suspect that there's going to be a lot more protectionism, even more than the Biden administration has managed. But clearly, it's something that is going to be more of a feature of our world, I think, over the coming 5 years of the Trump administration. What will China be able to do during that period? And it's going to be an arms race, a literal arms race, to see if one particular country can beat the other and can get significantly better AI out there. So look, like with any technology, with fire, it can set fire to stuff, and that's probably what it did. First of all, it set fire to people's houses, but then actually it can also food. It can actually also warm you and cook things, and that's great. Electricity can heat you, but can also, yes, keep lights on, stuff like that. So every new technology has risks as well as massive rewards. Again, what we always want to do here is talk about things in the round and not shy away from some of the more controversial stuff. But yeah, I think it is a concern that China has been able to leverage the technology that is slightly older technology much better than the Americans have and the West has, and that potentially is going to be seen even more starkly as perhaps they're only so fast that these chips can go in the end. They're on nanomillimeter little bases right now. Yeah, it's going to be increasingly difficult, I think, to minimize them any further. And that means you've just got to use them better. And China seems to be ahead on that at this point in time. So we will keep an eye on that, as we will everything. But yes, that is the rest of our technology news this week. So now we want to move on to our regular session, which is all about our tool of the week. So this week's tool of the week is conversational AI, and we've introduced it actually on ModelProp. So if you go to modelprop.ai, down in the bottom right corner, you will be able to see a little live chat. And it's a literal chat. So you can actually click on it and start talking. And you will get, talking back to you, AI Mal. So it will be me, my voice, and you can ask me questions. And what we're looking to do is just to get some feedback, really. So if you fancy having a go and sending us some information, please send it back to hi@modelprop.a. But yeah, it's just fun, right? So go and have a play, ask us some questions, let us know, particularly we're focused around the latency side. So how quick does it answer? And then also accuracy and whether it makes sense or not. I was testing it, doing a live demo on Thursday. I was presenting to really great business or a really great organization, Share to Buy, and there were a lot of shared ownership companies and representatives in the room. And I was talking to it live, asking it questions about products, and it started having a bit of an existential crisis about its role in the world and the fact that it was only an AI and it couldn't really answer all these big questions. So it was quite funny. So yeah, so see if you can get it to answer some questions. Interestingly, I'm absolutely certain that voice AI, conversational AI, is going to be the interface that we use most often going forwards. There was a time where the idea of speaking into a phone to ask directions and things like that and interface with various kind of internet stuff just seemed weird. Asking app stuff seems weird. Siri seemed weird, and yet now it's perfectly normal. So I think that it's going to be really normal for us to speak into AI and ask it questions. Again, circling back to, and what does that mean for property search? And I think this is where the portals and historic websites and things like that are going to have to change. But yeah, go and have a play. This is us looking at building sort of things that are cutting edge, that are technology that is ahead of the game. We're really interested in your thoughts on it. Just as a kind of note about the future, at the moment, this technology, it costs about £2 a minute. Obviously, don't worry about that when you're having a chat, but it's not ready for commerciality. If you do see demos where people are going, yeah, look, we're going to be able to bring this into play right now, and you're going to be able to chat with your AI assistant on your website right now, you can't and you won't unless you want to pay £120 an hour, which you can get a number of humans to do probably much better and much quicker and much more cost effectively right now. So yeah, there's a lot of snake oil out there that could easily be shipped to you if you are willing to buy it. So yeah, just make sure that you're talking with trusted advisors who do take this stuff seriously and not just looking to make some quick money off the back of it. So conversational AI, go and play on modelprop.ai. Bottom right corner, start chatting and let us know what your thoughts are. So that is our tool of the week. Next, finally, we have our occasional series, Weird AI of the Week. Weird AI of the week, it's Death Clock. Sorry, I didn't say that very deeply. Death Clock. So Death Clock sounds really cool, right? Basically what it is, it's an AI that apparently estimates a user's date of death. Okay, that's what it does. So you feed it some information about you and it will tell you when you're going to die. Yeah, sounds fun, huh? It will also then, for a mere $40 a year, provide information on how to push that date out, to live some extra days. just by eating a healthier food, employing a healthier lifestyle, making those life choices that you know you should. And as a result, you will see that the death clock will increase and your time on this planet will increase too, happily and joyfully. It's almost bravo, well done, good idea. But there are relatively few more sinister deployments of AI that I've come across, certainly in terms of panicking the heck out of as many people as possible. And yeah, just bringing into sharp relief the idea that you are going to die in this particular death. Now, that there are really valid Stoic principles about memento mori, remember your death. And remember, death is coming, and it is coming, right? But actually putting a date on it and saying that's definitely when you're going to die, and then edging it up a little bit if you have an apple, it's probably pushing it a little bit. So yeah, I think it's by no means is this going to be the last really quite sad integration or implementation of AI. And we will bring you many as we go through more and more of these podcasts on a weekly basis. So yes, weird AI of the week. It may actually become more weekly than occasional. But for now, yeah, if you really want to know when you're going to die, not really going to die, then go to deathclock.co, have a play, tell it all of your health details, hopes and fears for the future. It will tell you a date, and then you just got to hope like heck that you're able to push that day out, right? Okay, listen, thanks so much again for being with us. That is all we've got time for this week on the Property AI Report. I'm Mal McCallion. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'll be back again next week with even more exciting, entertaining property and AI news. Till then, stay safe out there. There is a storm ongoing right now across the UK. Hope everybody is well. And we will catch up with you on the other side next week. All the very best. Have a good week. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.